Hello. This is our second text for Rumi. So we're not yet done with Rumi. So I think the first one that we took up for Rumi was Granite and Wine Glass. So now we're heading on to his second poem called Buoyancy. So let's first start with a reading of it, a reading of the poem, and for this one, we're going to take a different approach to it because if you remember what we did with Granite and Wine Glass, um, we talked about it first, I think, as a poem about love, and then later on turned it into a discussion of how it would be if it were a poem about faith, right? Because if we remember something about Rumi, for him, remember, faith and love are always going to be intertwined for him. Right, so for this one, instead of talking about it first as a love poem, then as a poem about the divine, we're going to do it simultaneously. All right, so let's start with our, as usual, reading of the poem first. All right, Buoyancy by Rumi. Love has taken away my practices and filled me with poetry. I tried to keep quietly repeating, no strength but yours, no strength but yours, but I couldn't. I had to clap and sing. I used to be respectable, chaste, and stable, but who can stand in this strong wind and remember those things? A mountain keeps an echo deep inside itself. That's how I hold your voice. I am scrap wood thrown in your fire, quickly reduced to smoke. I saw you and became empty. This emptiness, more beautiful than existence. It obliterates existence, and yet when it comes, existence thrives and creates more existence. The sky is blue. The world is a blind man squatting on the road. But whoever sees your emptiness sees beyond blue and beyond the blind man. A great soul hides like Muhammad or Jesus, moving through a crowd in a city where no one knows him. To praise is to praise how one surrenders to the emptiness. To praise the sun is to praise your own eyes. Praise the ocean, what we say, a little ship. So the journey goes on and no one knows where. Just to be held by the ocean is the best luck we could have. It's a total waking up. Why should we grieve that we have been sleeping? It doesn't matter how long we've been unconscious. We are groggy, but let the guilt go. Feel the motions of tenderness around you, the buoyancy. Okay, so we will start with, obviously, the first stanza. This stanza here, so doesn't matter whether it's about love or faith. It talks about a sort of exchange. I had something before, and now because of love, I have something else. So something was replaced. So what was exchanged? All right. So it talks about practices. All right. Faith has practices. Love would have practices. So what are those things? So what could those things be? So practices are tangible things that you do over and over again. I mean, that's what practice is. You do it over and over again, almost in a routinary manner. And if it becomes routinary, it means that you're used to doing it. You've done it over and over again, and to the point that you kind of forget why you've been doing those things in the first place, and even what it means, because you don't think about why am I doing it, or you don't think about what does this mean, because you've been doing it for so long. It's become the normal. So you tend to forget to ask why you do it and what does it mean. So faith, let's say for example Catholic faith, because that's the only faith I know, it has a lot of those. And I have this experience as a rebel in my Catholic school years, because grade school, high school, I was in a completely very strict school, a strict Catholic school for girls. So I had a lot of experience rebelling, and I think my religion teachers, Sir Naig and Miss Chabi, they know this about me, because you had to write in reflection notebooks, and I was very honest during those when I would fill in my reflection notebooks. My questions were, you know, well, if I memorize the Beatitudes, how is that going to make me a better how is that going to make me a good person, just because I've memorized it and perfected it in my quiz? Or um I think for Sir Naig we had to memorize the encyclicals, Mater et Magister. I remember that, but yeah, but you get it. You're made to memorize a lot of things, and my question was, would knowing it, or would memorizing it perfectly help me become a better person? Because if I have to make a choice, I guess, between good or bad, I don't revert to those things that I memorized for class, right? Or even with, let's say, going to mass. My I think what I wrote before was, well, I know people who go to mass every Sunday, but they're still horrible people. So what's the point in going to mass if you don't end up becoming a good person anyway? So yeah, I I was a lot of trouble, I guess, in that sense when I was in high school. But that's why I kind of get his point. I get Rumi's point when he says, "All right, because I've fallen in love with God, or because I have now found this unquestionable belief about God, whatever I knew of my faith before that looks like practices, they've been replaced by something more, which is a total belief in the existence of God beyond the Bible, beyond the Mass, beyond, all of these traditional things that we've been taught to do and believe about God. Beyond all of those doctrines, if you take them away, I still believe in God. And for I guess for some people that might be, difficult. Like, take away all of the structures, let's say churches, or the little figurines that you have of God and the saints, and take them away. Sometimes it might be hard to, like, remember that you believe in God, I guess, or that you believe in God's existence. Because some people, you know, why does it work for them? Why do those practices work for them? Because as human beings, as people, we tend to only believe if there is something tangible. That's why it's such a thing for us to look at relics, because if there's something that if there's something tangible of earth that we believe was from this saint, or this figure from the Bible, or from Jesus Christ, or from God, if there's something man-made, or something that we can see survived through time, then it'll help us believe in God more. So that's why when those things are brought to the public, there's such a huge a following for it, because in order, because as human beings, we need to sometimes see something tangible in order for us to believe that something exists, like God. All right, but what Rumi is saying is that, no, I am proposing a different kind of faith. It is a kind of love for God that allows you to believe He exists beyond those practices. Right, so that's what he's saying with this first stanza. Now, if this were about love, of course, what would be we have a lot of these. What would be these practices that we do as stop moving furniture? It's 10 o'clock in the evening. Sorry, that's my neighbor. Yeah, what would be these things that we do all the time as lovers? I don't. Um, I guess texting, good morning, love, good night, love. You know those. What else? What do we do? Hatid sundo. You fetch someone from their classroom. I guess because I never had this experience in high school, but I see my students because we're all girls, and you know I'm straight, so I didn't do so I didn't go like hang on to someone from another class and wait for them to finish their class because yeah, we also didn't move rooms, but sometimes I see my students do that. College students do that. Like their boyfriend or girlfriend would be waiting for them outside the classroom so that they could walk to their next class, for the next class together, and all of that. So these are um, what else do lovers do? I guess you give each other gifts during Valentine's Day. You tag each other on social media posts. What else? You get married, there has to be an entire pageantry for your wedding because otherwise, if there's no pageantry, it means they don't love you and all of that. So, yeah, or, you know, we tend to measure someone's love, if it exists, or how much they love us by the physical things that we can hold on to. But why? Because that's how it's always been. You know, you ask for, again, you ask for proof, physical proof that their love exists. You tell me that you love me, I have to see proof, you know? Um, but again, what Rumi is proposing is a different kind of love. It's knowing beyond any physical proof that they love you. So now, what was exchanged? Um, there was an exchange of something that was physical, something that was tangible, something that would allow you to logically believe that something exists. You take away that, and in its place, you have believe in the existence of God or believe in the existence of someone's love for you. And that's why he says all of that has been replaced by poetry, because poetry works with the language of metaphors. It is when you have a relationship where mm, I'm going to make an idea more real for you. So I'm going to use something that you know in order to represent that idea which doesn't exist. So that's why when you say, you know, my love for you is like, what is this? Like the rosary, or you treat me like a rose. Well, that's not a metaphor. That's a simile, but you know, it's the same kind of language. You know, um, so that's why he says it's been replaced by a language that uses metaphors, because we can't understand that something exists unless we replace it with a thing that a recognizable idea. And why do you do that because you recognize that what you're trying to give the person is something intangible. So that's why you talk in metaphors. Faith and love, these are extremely um not hypothetical, but these are extremely intangible things. You can't touch it. It exists. So Rumi says, yes, you take away every single logical proof, but you still believe that they exist. Love and faith. So that's why. So that's the start of the poem Buoyancy.